This is a restaurant worker harvesting oil from the garbage, filling the bowl, and walking back to the restaurant. The owner swears on their life that if they use this oil for their customer, he will be hit by a car. But even then, we still know that there have been so many cases of people getting the oil from the sewer, from garbage bins, to try to recycle them into cooking oil again. And no, they're not afraid of swearing on their life because a lot of them are lying. How about fake peanut oil? Well, this influencer does a lot of these scam exposures, and in this one, he bought 10 brands of peanut oils claiming to be 100% peanut oil. He tested them in a lab, and these three he shows in the video contain only 50% that is peanut oil. The other 50% are things like soybean oil or corn oil. There's also many cases of faking these positive message videos, these so-called promoting positive values. Some of them I've covered previously. You think that people with disability are getting the help they need, potentially a caretaker, up the stairs. Well, no, this one's staged. How about feeding food to those semi-truck drivers? Also fake. How about workers cleaning up the residential area? Well, that's been staged and fake too. What about cops helping out with the farmers? That's also fake. How about people cleaning up the streets and handing out vests and tools? Well, they rotate and take photos, film videos, then they just leave. There is even a guy in this community which has been recorded. What he does is he's supposed to spray the ground morning and night to keep the humidity level high. Instead, what he does is he only sprays the area around the humidity watch, and so I guess the system detects that it's humid out there. He films it, and then he leaves. Nowhere else gets sprayed. So it begs the big question, why does China want to fake everything? Before we begin, make sure to check out our latest merch for your holidays. These 4 ugly sweaters include the My Gift Lasts Longer Than Tofu Drag. This sweater isn't made in China, West Taiwan Insider, and Dear Santa, please bring democracy to China. So check them out at davidzhang.net. Place your order now so that they arrive before Christmas. Also, if you're interested in helping out the channel, consider checking out the donation link in the description below. Your contribution is going to greatly help us to put out more content, as well as get camera gears, even allows us to travel to places to film different and engaging, as well as fun content related to China. So check out the link in the description. All right, let's begin. It really starts with the Chinese Communist Party. Fake runs in their blood. Now, if you are an official in the party, you want to get promoted, you want to have an edge over other people. It's not done so through hard work and through dedication. It is done by cheating, often stepping on others' shoulders so that you can get there before them, cutting corners. And that's why the key success, or the key to the success, is in fact, cheating or to fake numbers so that you can get promoted. And so that culture has trickled down into society. But there's also the aspect where the CCP wants to see people against people. They pit one group of people against another. And through this constant need for struggle, they created this environment where people who want to do better than others also aren't doing so through hard work and dedication, but rather again through cutting corners. And so you really start to create 2 classes of people at every single corner of the country, right? You have the people who are trying to screw over others, who are in turn getting screwed over by the third group. So if you're talking about the natural, this idea of survival of the fittest, it's not the fittest being the strongest, it's the fittest being the most cunning, most deceptive. In this video, workers are told to bang on the rails with pipes to make it sound like that construction is still ongoing when officials come to visit the construction site. The building hasn't been finished yet, so the developers are just trying to fool their way around. So imagine if we extrapolate this type of behavior to other aspects of society. This is grass laid on concrete. What essentially happens is that there's regulations pertaining to a certain percentage of the residential area must be covered in greenery, and usually that means, of course, grass and plants. But to meet the delivery standard of the condo, for example, developers would lay patches of these grass on top of concrete, or in places like walkways and other areas to fulfill that 15 or 20% or whatever the measurement is, so that it results in the hilarious video that we're seeing now. Now, some actually keep it this way even after their so-called delivery of the building. So they no longer deal with the aftercare once the building is done. There's also things like fake greenery up on the walls. They use fake stripes and these tarp covers to, essentially, again, to boost that greenery standard. This also happens on the road too. Don't expect to have real flowers and trees in some parts of China. These are stapled on by the worker. Looking at the clothes he's wearing, this must not be wintertime, so the leaves just disappeared? Or are the trees not real either? Well, these I know for sure are fake trees because the branches are glued onto them. Fake flowers too on the side of the road or in parks. There's also parts where the buyers of a home are promised things like amenities or certain constructions within their residential community like ponds or parks or bridges. And in this particular case, they find out afterwards that their so-called pond is just a piece of plastic rubber ground that's blue and it has a bridge on it.
带你看一下我们小区的网红打卡点啊，小桥流水人家啊。哎，你怎么在湖里面啊？是啊，我是家在湖里啊。你觉得这个是湖吗？
我觉得开发商就跟开玩笑一样的，把这里设置成一个湖，然后你看这还有一个汉桥，然后这里还是蓝色的，类似于海洋，地上还画了很多鱼。
开发商把我们的业主就是当3岁小孩子哄啊。
And also, this is my favorite here. Underneath drain covers or solid ground, there's no access to the sewer. In this case, the fire hydrant, where she accidentally backed her car into it, only to find out that it's not really connected to any water source. Or this one in the farmland, again, when they dug it up, there's no water source to be found. Now, you might be asking, where is accountability? Is there no governmental situation to handle this type of behavior? Well, let's just say there's two reasons why accountability doesn't happen in China. The first one is a lot of these tofu drag or fake situations are part of the government itself. The local governments work with developers, contractors, so that they can make money in the process. Whether quality or doneness is really, there, that's not the main source of the problem. Like how they basically try to paint patches of grass green. Or patches of the mountain green. Now, some people claim it's this type of grass fertilizing chemical, but no, some of the coloring here you see clearly, it looks like some type of green paint. And do you really need to paint a mountain green? What, so they show up green on the satellite? The second reason is that there was insane competition in China. I say was because after COVID, people have slowly realized, what was happening in China was that the government, advertiser really is the government, all these developers, they're pushing people to buy everything, thinking that if they don't get it, they're at a disadvantage, whether that's with house, with the latest phone, with a car, or with any, just even groceries. Everything is hyper competitive. Jobs, right? Everything. The sheer number of population. So it almost feels like you're being left out if you're not continuing to buy this, even if you're receiving substandard finished products at the end of it, right? Now, like I mentioned, it's much less now because of COVID and consumer confidence is at an all-time low. So people actually are protesting that now. Well, we have to talk about things like tofu drag, right? The reason why for 20 plus years now things like gutter oil or tofu drag continues to happen is simply because there's too many cases of this and the government doesn't care to solve it. Because this is really it's a big cultural thing in society. And this video here, it looks like the floor above had some sort of a concrete diarrhea. And I guess the real cause of that stomach flu is the poor building material. Neither is the material supposed to turn into powder like this. And of course, we know that support beams aren't supposed to be able to be hollowed out like that. And of course, they're not supposed to crumble. So that's really the reality. Overpromise, underdeliver. Over time, there's bound to be a time where people are fed up. So this kind of goes into why, I guess part of the reason why the Chinese real estate's so bad right now. There's so many unfinished buildings. There's so many tofu drag projects, even if they're done. Just simply because, they're delivering subpar, underperforming buildings. People, even if they buy a house, there's really no way for them to live in it, right? And because there's no such thing as credibility in China, fake is really a mindset, right? Even though in the traditional culture in China, the teachings for thousands of years was to take promises and to take truth, authenticity as one of the core values. You see this in a lot of Chinese novels, whether that's the Romance of the Three Kingdoms or the Outlaws of the Marsh. A lot of the core aspect is talking about this idea of loyalty, this idea of truth and, I guess you'd say, accountability. And because the CCP wiped it all away, they've also made some really big promises which they never fulfilled, like every farmer gets to grow their own land, or there's private ownership in China, or things like that it's going to turn into a democratic nation where people can actually vote. All those promises never fulfilled. Just think of it this way, right? If there's systemic corruption in the party, why wouldn't it reach into the society? And if there's systemic cutting corners within the party, faking their stuff to get promoted, why wouldn't that also happen in the way that they organize and manage society? I mean, to the extreme, they also fake things like this giant rock atop a mountain. So this is the Wutong Mountain, and when hikers go up to the top, they take photo with this giant rock. Somehow people kicked the side of the rock and found out that it's actually a fake rock, so now it's under repair. In summary, faking has really become a culture and a mindset, and it's something that because the CCP has systematically destroyed everything, sort of the cultural and spiritual barriers that have prevented this from happening. In the Western world, obviously, there's credibilities, right? There's trust is everything, and that's not happening in the current modern China. That's it today for this episode on China faking everything, or the need to fake everything. If you enjoy the content, leave a like, comment below your thoughts on this particular topic, as well as subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. All right, until next time, bye-bye.